Hello, Madam Wahida. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you as my guest today on this episode of Who Cares? I wanted to interview you as a follow-up to the interview that I did with Amy Slotek and Maria Alcidi, international lawyers who talked about the current situation of legal professionals, female legal professionals in Afghanistan, and the challenges that they're facing and their inability to practice law. And the reason why I'm interviewing you today is because you are a professional from Afghanistan. You used to be a judge back in your country. And because of the change in regime, that obviously impacted your career and your work. And this is what we're going to be talking about because I wanted to hear directly from someone who has had that experience. Before we get into that, though, I would like you to please introduce yourself to my viewers, Madam Wahida Rahimi.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. And to introduce myself, I'll start with my name. My name is Bibi Wahida Rahimi. I was a judge in Afghanistan for 4 years. I have the experience of working in civil court and criminal court. Criminal court, basically violence against women and juvenile delinquency. And my work was basically in one of the provinces of Afghanistan. And I think it's very fair to say that it was a very good experience of my life because it was an eye opener. It was something that I always proud of, and because it was for a short time, then I know the value of it very much because it didn't last that much. It was just for 4 years, and we had the ability and the time to serve for the women, for the people, and for those who really needed us. And I think that was the greatest achievement of our life for me and personally for everyone else with whom I talk. And I know, like, you also have that experience. Everyone who we serve wholeheartedly, we really believe that we did something good. And so that's all I would say. It's more like not just professional, but it's more personal for us coming from a country like Afghanistan and seeing what's going on right now over there. So it was a very good chance for us and for from different aspects to serve and also to be an example for other generations coming after us because though there were few to set the example for us, but I think we were getting it better, but it didn't last that long. But at the end, I would say it was something good that we were on. But uh, still, we are hopeful.
So we're going to get into what happened for it to not last that long because it's not you who retired. It's not you who
Yeah.
decided that you didn't want to do this anymore. Actually, it's a situation that affected you as well as your other female colleagues in Afghanistan. But before I get into that, I just wanted to ask a question to clarify because I think the system is a little bit different in Afghanistan. In Canada, for example, you have to practice law as a lawyer for at least 10 years before you can become a judge. But I know in some other countries, like in France, for example, you can become a judge right away, right out of law school. So, which system is Afghanistan's legal system closer to? Were you a lawyer before you became a judge, or did you become a judge right away after you studied law?
Yeah, as you said, there are two different systems, and Afghanistan is mostly a civil law country. So you don't have to be a lawyer to become a judge. That's why we have judges who are younger and they don't have to wait 10 years to become a lawyer. So by the time that we finished law school, we have to take the entrance exam if you are interested in being a judge. So if people are interested in being a lawyer or prosecutor, they would go a different path. But if those who are interested in being a judge, so we have to take the entrance exam, and by passing the entrance exam, you'll have the chance to take the training for 2 years more, which are supervised by Supreme Court. And by the end of that, and taking many different exams with each subject, after 2 years, we'll be eligible to be hired as judges. with the degree and with the certificate that we get, certification of being a judge through Supreme Court and also president of the country. So that's how it works. And then we are hired mostly to provinces, different provinces. And that was the reason that I was hired in one of the provinces. So that's how it works.
All right. And obviously, you chose the route of becoming a judge right away after you studied law in Afghanistan.
I would say from very first beginning, like from the very first days of my law school, you don't have that idea because obviously you're very young to decide like who and what you want to be for the rest of your life. But still, I was in the law school, but I was just searching like, should I go with this path, the other path? But what I learned was when I think the different things and different ideas in the society really makes us to decide our profession. I would agree, especially in my country. But I think I met two judges, women judges, also from the higher courts, which really inspired me because
Mhm.
it's very rare to see in countries like my country, women in the top or women having those powers. So it really gives you that idea that, oh, that's very much possible. And it's not just a power with the judgment, what I really like, and with the idea of lawyer and prosecutors, that you have the power, sole power in your hands, and you're hired through a very high system that you don't get fired in any time. So that really, the prestige and the power that women had really inspired me. And I was thinking at the end that being a judge is something that I should go for.
Nice. And did you went to law school, I'm assuming in Afghanistan as well, or did you study
Yeah.
abroad?
No, I went to law school in Kabul University, which
Mhm.
is a very good university with the law school. So yeah, from there, then I started the journey, I'd
And
say.
did you learn how to speak English in Kabul, in
Uh,
Afghanistan?
yeah, I think in Afghanistan, mostly people are familiar with the language, like foreign language, like English. It's not like very much like you have to learn very fluently, but obviously everyone is kind of able to understand and to speak a bit.
Right.
But then later on, if you want to continue, if you want to study abroad, then you have to kind of like back it up. So I had the initial, I was able to communicate. So I would say the English that I know is all I have learned there.
Okay, so you've learned it from going to school in Afghanistan. You didn't go and live outside in England or in the
No,
US and then come back to your country.
no, it's all from there, from
Okay.
Afghanistan.
Okay, that's very nice. All right. So you went to law school, you studied, and then you decided that you were inspired from the examples that you had the opportunity to meet to become a judge, and you did become a judge, and you've practiced for 4 years, and you've realized that it was a very enriching experience. But then, unfortunately, that experience had to come to an end. And so, can we just get, or actually, before we get into that, where are you currently? Where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Canada,
Mhm.
British Columbia,
Okay.
and I've been here since April 2022. And this wasn't just a very straight journey to here. So I would add that when I got out of Afghanistan, I went to Greece for a while, like maybe for 40 days. Then and then I was in Germany for 5 months. Then I came to Canada, and recently, like a year ago, I went to US to take my master's degree in international human rights. Then it's
Mhm.
been a few months, 3, 4 months that I'm back in BC. So it was quite a journey.
Yes. And are you currently planning on staying in Canada, or is Canada also just you're staying here temporarily and then you're planning on going somewhere else?
No, I'd say we're permanently kind of thinking of staying here. Yeah.
Okay. So what got you into leaving your country?
Actually, uh, it's um it's not easy, and it's not a decision that you would make it easier to just leave the country with
Yes.
the like when you have everything stable and you
Your
don't.
roots are from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you have the network, you have everything in your country, but sometimes when the force comes and they take out the root, they take out everything from you. So it's very hard to stay somewhere, even you love that place, even you belong there. And also the idea which really uh, relates to me personally, but also I feel like it's very much important to everyone as human, is the dignity and the freedom to choose to do whatever we want as women and as humans. So when the regime, when the government who has the power kind of ignores the rights and the freedoms to walk, to talk, to do the job, everything like basic human rights, they are ignored. So obviously, you get the idea that my dignity is being ignored. So that's something that as humans we never want that, and I think that's very much important to me and to everyone. So that leads us to leave the country, even though we really love it and we have our roots, our families over there. So for me, that's the whatever comes to dignity, to freedom, to the rights that I have. And I think those led me to leave my country and to always feel bad about it. But
Mhm.
I think that was the only main reason that we did that. Yeah.
So,
For me and many others.
so if we get a little bit more into the specifics, so what exactly happened? Because you were a practicing judge, you were working, and then all of a sudden, what happened? Like, did you get a notice that you're not allowed to work? Like, tell us a bit more about those times when this happened, when that change happened, and you were no longer able to work. How did you get the information? What, or was there notice? Did you get a notice, or was it just like you wanted to go to work? The courts were closed. Like, what happened exactly?
Oh, I think it wasn't that much like paperwork or on paper notice. Later on, it happened, but uh, by the time, even before the change of regime, there was the idea of like if the regime changes, mostly women will be affected. And this was the fear that we all the women working out, and even the women who weren't working, like who were in college or maybe university, and even just living their life freely, had the fear that if the regime changes, because they had the idea, they had the experience before, like 20 years back, like before 2001, they had the experience. Even I wasn't in the country on that time, I was a child, but people had the fear that if the regime changes and the government kind of become that old government, there's no rights for women and mostly for men also. So it's not like when male judges are working, they are not hired back either. But mostly women were very much afraid and they had the idea. And what happened was that when they took like the regime changed, that fear became the reality and the courts were closed, the system was completely mm, like changed, and it was kind of a notice, I would say, but it wasn't a paper notice sent to everyone's home,
Mhm.
but it was kind of just declared that just stay home because there's no place or no need for you guys to come back. So that was it. And from the day that they took the country was, the government was changed, everything kind of seemed that it's over. So you get that idea, and you don't have to wait for a month to understand. You just immediately understand it that it's over for us, and what we were afraid of is completely now the reality. So it's how it worked. And unfortunately, all the judges, prosecutors, and women, even the teachers. So we see like everyone working out as from women had to stay home, and it's completely like a disaster, I'd say.
And were you, I mean, at the time when you were working, were you working because you had to work, or you were working because, I mean, you felt like it was your calling and you were doing it as work, but also because it was something that you wanted to do, not just an obligation because you have to feed your family or you have to do it. So, tell us a bit more about your situation at the time when you were working, because I mean, some people work just to make a living, and others they do it because that's their calling, and some it's a combination of both. It's a way of making a living, and they rely on their job for their living, but it's also what they like as well. So, what was it for you in your situation?
Um, I think for me and for many of my colleagues who I know, it was a calling and it was also a kind of passion. When you
Hmm.
are kind of deprived of a right,
Yeah.
uh, you are more eager to have that. Like when I see people in my country, like how women and girls are kind of like in a race to study, to go to school, because they were deprived, they were kind of like told that it's not for you. So, and being mostly with the judgment, it was very late for women to become a judge, and it was more kind of like a male dominated profession. So you really feel that you have to be there, you have to be one of those people who could make the change. So it was more of that, and I still feel like it wasn't an easy job, mostly for us who were raised in Kabul, in capital, but we have to go to provinces to work and to feed and to understand what's going on there when we don't know anything about it. And obviously, for me personally and for others, friends who I know, when we went to provinces, we were completely shocked. And we had the idea, but there's a lot of difference between Kabul and provinces. And I think even though it was very hard for us to go that far, with all the insecurities, with all the dangers that we were facing. But what really made us to take the decision and to go there and up to the last day was to do something good and to make the changes. And
Hmm.
I think we all understood that being there really makes a change. When we are somewhere, when people don't expect us, like they feel like we are not made for that, but we go there and we prove ourselves. Obviously, as women, you have to prove yourself. It's
Yes.
not have to prove that you are able to do something. And so you go through that days or months to prove that, okay, this is a male dominated society or male dominated workspace, but I'm very much able to work because I have the ability, I have talent, and I have the education.
Yeah.
So it was something proving to ourselves and also proving to others and to society, and making and being an eye opener for, if it was victims, if it was people there, and if it was the new generation of girls, to see us as judges sitting at the highest position in the province, and to give to get the idea, I would say, that they are not coming to the court as victims. In future, they can come as judges, as
Yeah.
prosecutors, as lawyers. That was the whole idea behind uh, my intention to work, I would say, because it's something good that we are in.
But before that regime change, women had that opportunity to study and to work, right? You were
Yeah.
able to work, and you are an example of someone who was working in that same country, but it's just that regime change that now you can't. So now the situation is still women cannot work. And is it in everything or in the legal profession? What is the situation right now?
Um, so for us, our focus was mostly on the legal profession
Yes.
because we were from that.
Yeah.
And I think the jobs and the profession that really uh, was kind of like
Affected. Yeah.
something, yeah,
Yeah.
affected at the very beginning was also the judicial system, because
Hmm.
from the very beginning that this was the idea that women shouldn't be in the judicial system. So it was more because judiciary gives that highest position and it
It's
gives the
power.
woman,
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the powers in the
Yeah.
country. So it really shows women like they are the powerful, they are the decision makers, and it's very hard for the some regimes to accept that.
Hmm.
So and that was the first profession that was really affected. But later on, other professions, like even now, the teachers are at home, like the teachers who teach at the girls' school, because girls are not going to school anymore, and after grade 6, and also many other professions, engineers or architects, or I would say, I think it's just doctors who are going because they need them, and
Yeah.
some very few other professions, but many other professional women who were indifferent or had businesses or some other things, they all are at home and they're unable to work, yeah, sadly.
It is very sad. So, but how are women in Afghanistan living this situation right now? Because I mean, you've lived through the change, so you know how it was before. You're someone who had the advantage of living in the past where there were opportunities, and now there aren't. How do you know how women now are going through this? Like, do they have hope? What do they aspire to? What are their goals in a situation like this?
I think it's it's completely normal to feel depressed and to feel sad about it. But the problem is that when you have the hope that okay, it's for 1 year and by that time it's going to be finished, and then I can go back to my work or go back to school, like if it's like a COVID or something like that,
Mhm.
then it's not that bad. But when you think that it's the future and it's just continuing, and the hope is very much little or maybe no hope at all, then it's kind of like it becomes your destiny. Then it's very hard. And I think for women who are in the professional platform, they feel very bad because they compare their past like 3 years ago, and now they feel like they kind of it's like a loss of identity because you were able to identify as a like I'm a judge or a lawyer. I can do this. I can go out. I can choose what to do, what to buy, what to not do. But now you're just forced to live a life which is designed and tailored for you by someone who's not capable and who's completely comes from nowhere. So it's very hard to imagine. And also for young generation, for
Mhm.
girls who had so many dreams, but now they have to change all their dreams to completely change the idea and the structure of the way they thought that they would live their life in future 3 years back. And I feel very bad if I put myself like in a in the shoes of someone still living there uh, as a professional person, or even as a girl who kind of have to stay home after grade 6. Like, what is that? Like, how can I live my life? Because it's very hard when you see your brother kind of going to school and others having the dream job, but you have to just say like, okay, it's grade 6, I have to stay home, or it's just finished, I have to do something at home, or I have to just find something to kind of make myself just don't think of all those stuff. So you can imagine it's not easy. It's very sad and not a good situation at all for women
Yeah,
and girls.
I can imagine. And what are many or the majority of them doing right now? Are they deciding also to leave or what?
Uh, Obviously, the decision might be for some people, but that's not the like. It's not ideal, and it's not happening. The whole country cannot leave, and where they
Yeah.
should go, it's not something that. Uh, I think the only thing is that you have to be hopeful. Obviously, like it's very hard even for me to say that, but if something happens and the regime changes, because the country, Afghanistan, is always kind of like had its ups and downs and the change of regimes. So many have the idea that hopefully there would be a change, there would be kind of like an adjustment, and women would have their rights back. But it doesn't seem very real and very like easy and in a near future, but there's no other option. It's just that we have to try harder, and the international communities, NGOs should try harder to push and to kind of back up the women and girls in the country.
And speaking of NGOs and the international community, has there been any help from them? Has there been anything that they were able to do to help change or try to get the situation back to what it was before the regime change?
I wouldn't say like there was a change back to what was in the
Hmm.
regime, because it's very it's not, I couldn't see that, and there's no news like that. But it's also hard for me because I'm out of the country to have a
Yeah.
real picture. and to imagine what's going on. But I think the resistance and the pushing harder and to kind of standing back is making a difference. And obviously, it's not easy, and it's not easy to resist, like the resistance, but also the hopefulness of the women over there in the country back there, and also the NGO and international communities kind of resisting and working hard would really make a difference. Like I always believe that we have to try our best. So everyone should try their best. At least it's better than nothing. If we don't do anything, then there's no hope. But if there's a resistance, if there's a trying, then at least we would have a positive impact somehow.
And why did you decide to leave, Madame Rahimi?
Uh, I think I've mentioned before that for me, I've always believed in choosing my life, like what I want to
Having
do.
your choice of, yes.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing that we have as humans, that we have the opportunity and we have the power to
Ability,
choose
yeah.
what to do and what not to do. So when a regime or someone takes that from you,
Mhm.
you kind of, I feel it's very hard to uh, be the real person that you want to be. For me, it's very hard when I'm compelled to do something which I'm not trying to, which I don't like to do, even if it's something very small. So what happens when you feel like all your dreams and all your
Yeah.
identity is being taken from you and you're compelled to do something which you don't like? So then you're not that person anymore, and that's not just affecting me, it's affecting my family and everyone. And we are not going to be a good example for, as a mother. I always feel it's very important to be a good example for the generations and for, especially for your own family, because they'll learn and they would see, like, uh, if as a parent we are compelled from a force and we are not a real person we want to be, then it's going to
Mhm.
affect the generations. And what I'm really concerned is the future generation of the countries, which have to be like, they have to understand their power, they have to understand their ability, that they can choose what they want and they could be a change. And I think I have carried on, I'm trying to carry on that, because after leaving the country, I never forgot that what was my mission, what was my motto for life, was to try harder. Because as a person, when you leave the country, immediately you are not, you're just called a refugee or an immigrant, which is not a very good word. And you feel like, oh my God, it's kind of like, um it doesn't really, you don't want to be called someone like who has left the country like that. But it's more than just calling, it's more like you have no roots, you have nothing to do, and you cannot identify as a professional person or being as a judge, and you have to find your identity back. Mm. So I think for me, it was very much important with the message and with the idea that I left the country, was to feel that I can carry on the power, and I can just be an example for all the others who are staying there, to try harder, to study, because it's very hard. You kind of lose yourself when you leave the country. It's very hard to start everything back. But I think uh, when you have a very strong mindset, by leaving the country, and also by working in a country which is insecure for women, and also even it was, you were able to work, so you have that, you're trained to be in hardship, but also to rise
Mhm.
and to also make things change the way you want. So I think we're all trying to set an example and to show that it's, women can do it. It's not an end. Even though we leave the country, it's a new start. We always feel like leaving the country wasn't something, obviously it was hard, but it was a new start for us. And also we have to be the voice for those who are still there to make sure that the people understand that they what they really want, because we are representing anyone over there. So I think there's a lot going on, but we all have the responsibility to be the voice for those who are still stuck there.
Mhm. And what are your plans now? What do you intend to do? Because you're obviously, I mean, the advantage that you have now is that you're in a country where you can choose if you want to work, you can work. Nobody can tell you not to work. So what are your plans for now?
Um, so recent, by the time I came to Canada, I started as a job as a research associate at the
Mhm.
University of British Columbia, mostly working and researching on the situation of women and the judicial system in Afghanistan and women's role in judicial system. So these were the works that I wanted to do, and I had presentations, all that stuff which was related to legal system. But then when I got the scholarship from University of Notre Dame, and it was on international human rights, I thought like it's something that really would help me level up my idea of human rights, because I was mostly working on a domestic level with the violence and all that stuff which were happening. But learning from an international platform was something that really gave me a good idea of what we are expecting and what are the roles of an organization, international platforms, and also the human rights situation all over the world, which was something that I learned new. And then now I'm back in Canada, and I want my idea is more to be a licensed lawyer here,
Mhm.
if I could.
Lawyer, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and I think I'm putting some steps in it. So it's not an easy work.
No.
It's also being someone new to a country, and but hopefully, I'm a very hopeful person, and I feel like by the time one step at a time, so I'd be able to kind of become a licensed lawyer. And also, if I want to continue with academics, that's also something that I'm very much interested, because with this we can reach to different I think with academics, yeah, also researching and working with people and kind of being the voice for women, and not just women, but also for the people and for the country. So these are the things that's happening, but it's not very fast. It's just
Yeah.
baby steps, but I'm hopeful that I'll do what I'm trying.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that you're planning also on becoming a lawyer. It will be very nice to have you as part of the Canadian bar, legal bar. But I also am curious to ask you if, let's say, you have that opportunity, would you ever want to go back to Afghanistan, or is this something that you think you're going to be settling and staying in Canada?
No, obviously, if there's a chance, I would definitely go back to my country, to Afghanistan. Canada is also very much generous, and it has
Yeah,
become my country, but we are not meant to be somewhere for all our life. As humans, we have the ability and we have the chance when we can go to different countries, and if it's our own country, it's very much pleasant to serve the people who really need it, and the way we did before.
yeah.
So if there was a chance ever, I would definitely, and I would love to go back to there and work as a judge. That would be something I'd always look after.
So, but then what can people here in Canada do to help? Is there anything that Canadians who are listening to this or watching this, if they, because it is sad, especially when you hear about someone who's been working, who had a career, and because of a regime change, they can no longer work anymore. It is very sad, especially for professionals. We know how hard it is to get a degree, to work, to finally, have a job. It's very rewarding, and not to be able to do that sounds very harsh. So what can we do here? Is there anything that we can do to help in any way?
um, I think with this question, I would say like practically what really Canada and maybe other countries also
Mhm.
could do is to just try to give some space and platform for those immigrants who come to
Mhm.
Canada, because mostly they're professionals,
Yeah.
but when they try to fit, they feel like there's nothing we can do and there's nothing we could fit. It's not with just with the legal system, but with all other professions. And I think that's the very uh, harsh reality of leaving the country, because you leave the country, but at the end, to be realistic, it's not something that you'd imagine what's going on, and you just go and start over. But starting over is also something much better, because many people don't have the ability
Mhm.
and don't have the chance and opportunity to start over, because you don't find that network in a country when you don't know anything. You don't know like
Yeah.
how to start life, how to manage, how to live, and how to feed the family, or start back learning. So I think the system in Canada, um, from my point of view, practically is what they can do is with the immigrants and refugees to give them more space and more time to find their network and to find the job and the thing that they could kind of like nurture better, and to not to feel deprived of the system. Uh, it's from the uh, it's the idea that I got from many people and who left the country. It's not just with Afghanistan, but many other countries who came to Canada and to US, is that to find back their dream job and to be professional, it's very daunting to
Mhm.
start again, start over.
So it's also in giving opportunities as well to those who are coming here who want to work and start their careers all over again here. It's giving them the opportunities and the platform and to hear about their experiences. And that's actually what I'm doing here for you today.
Yeah,
I'm very happy that I had this opportunity to chat with you, and thank you for sharing your experience with us.
thank
I know that it's something that's very personal. You've been sharing your personal story, but I find it very enriching for me to learn about what's going on. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're colleagues. I mean, you were a judge, I'm a lawyer. I was never a judge, but we're still in the legal profession. You've
yeah,
practiced in criminal as well as a judge. So it is very, like I obviously feel that connection. And I really hope that, like that you will be able to work again, because you're obviously very passionate about
yeah.
your job. And I think we'll be very lucky to have you as part of our legal profession. So I hope that one day you will be a colleague lawyer in the Canadian criminal system. If you decide to get into criminal law, and you can always join WiCCD, which is our association
Yes, of
for
course.
criminal defense lawyers. But thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing your experience. It was really a very wonderful interview, and I really hope that people will watch and will try to do something as well to help you and other of your colleagues who are either there and who are facing the same situation, or who are in Canada, because I think it is important to help and to, I mean, we're connected by this profession.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you, and I wish you all the best. And I hope one day we'll be colleagues. Yeah, as you said.
I hope so too. Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so
your
much.
time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.